Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am working with paper from the Paper Issues store. If you use the code Orange Girl at checkout, you can receive 20% off any of your items that you purchase there. This is the Scraplift Sunday scrap lift that we are lifting Lacy today, and here is my take on that lift. So I am using the June kit that's available at the Paper Issues store. I believe it's probably likely sold out at this point. But I will tell you, I'm using a lot of photo play papers, and a lot of them come from the collection that I can't think of the name of, but it's something related to the quarantine or staying home. So I will link that information below. So I'm starting off by trying to decide what thickness I want my stripes to be. And I think I end up going with like 1.5-inch stripes. And I pulled out red and orange and yellow, and I'm going to do kind of a rainbow theme. And as I work on this, I'm just going ahead and cutting off the top part. A lot of times you will see me save the inside or save the outside and cut things through the center, but I did not choose to do that this time, partly because I do have this kit, but I also have many of these papers that I've purchased separately. So I have multiples of a lot of these papers, and so I'm not real worried about saving at this point. Plus, I wanted to go across the page 12 by 12 inches across, and so can't really do that and save much. So here we go. So I've got my rainbow here. I decided to use some of the papers with a white background in between some of my colors just to break it up a little bit. I also didn't go all the way through the rainbow. I just kind of went to that green color. Once I cut my stuff up here, I went ahead and I'm using my distress tool and distressing the edges. I want them to kind of be roughed up when I put them down. So I'm going to overlap them a little bit, and I am going to use some stitching through each of them. This is pretty much sticking with what Lacy did on her on her original page that we are scrap lifting today. So once I get those all roughed up, there's a lot of a mess there, so I'm just going to toss the mess. And then I'm going to put things, I don't know if I go ahead and I start putting stuff down right away or not, but you can see how I added the white in between and how that kind of broke up those colors a little bit. And so it's not like straightforward rainbow, but pretty much looks like a rainbow if you look at it. So and there's my picture. So my daughter is doing a jump in front of the rainbow that you can see across our street. So this little piece of fun came in the kit, and I thought I would put that on that white background paper. It's actually has a little orange, and I think like maybe a navy polka dot. And so now I'm going through the kit and I'm trying to find some items that I could put along and kind of stick with the colors. So yellow on yellow, green on green, that sort of thing. And stick with the colors that are in there. And they're these cute little, I don't even know where they came from. I'll try to look it up and see, but they're obviously they were in the kit, but they're little fabric. Yeah, they're fabric little embellishments, and so I'm going to use those for sure. Another thing that Lacy did on her layout is she used a cut file that she just cut in white, and she kind of tucked it into some of the layers and mainly behind the photo. And so I'm going to do something similar to that here coming up. I'm not using a cut file. I am using a die cut, like a die. So you'll see here, which is available in the store, and all of that I will link, like I said, below in the description. So once I get these all laid out here, and there's no reason for me to not glue them down. I know, especially, if you follow me, you know that I often glue very, very, very last. I decided that these needed to all go up a little bit, so I'm going to do that. But I do typically lay everything out and then glue at the very end. But, you know, when you're doing a scrap lift, you kind of know the basic design ahead of time, and so there's really no reason to avoid gluing at least stuff like this. So this was a real fun one to make. I've been really into rainbows lately. You're going to see like my next 5 videos or something are all going to be related to rainbows in some way. It's just been, there's just so many papers out there that lend themselves to that. So anyway. All right, so I have to figure out how I'm going to glue down that piece of fabric there and exactly where I'm going to put my photo. So I'm going to kind of lay everything out here again, and then I pulled it off and went ahead and I stitched everything down. So when I did that, I went ahead and stitched using the same color. So the red has red thread, the orange has orange thread, and so on. And I did lightly glue down that tassel thing, but then I just stitched through it to kind of make it stay there better. So as usual, I'm going to put a little bit of tissue paper behind my photo here just to kind of help it, give it a home, help it stand out, because ultimately the photo and the story is what it's all about, right? So at least for me. So yeah, I usually rough that up a little bit too. I don't want it to be perfect, and I am going to put some foam adhesive behind it to just kind of lift it up off the page a bit. All right, so now I have the background done, I can get to embellishing, which is one of my favorite parts. I love this paper. This is from that photo. I think I have at least 3 or 4 pieces of this. This is from that photo play collection that is, it's about staying home, and I forget what it's called, but exactly. But I'm going to pull 3 rainbows from this paper and just use them as embellishments. So I'm just going to fussy cut those out and put those across the page. And then, like I said, she, when Lacy did hers, she had some white die cuts kind of around. And so what I decided to do is I'm going to use my manual die cut machine. I have this big shot here, and there is a die in the store that is rainbow right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that on white paper 2 or 3 times. Now, when I did this, I don't know what I expected it to look like, but I did not expect it to look like this. So I think I was thinking it was going to be the outside, but this is actually just like the layers, right? So I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to do that, but it turns out really cool. So what I end up doing is I end up kind of messing with it here a little bit, and I decide that I really only need, what, I think I end up using like 3 of the arches. And I don't use the biggest arch because I don't need them that big. So I kind of play around with it a little bit here just to kind of see. And I did, I think, cut out 3 of them. And I just used white, textured white cardstock for that. And yeah, so I ended up deciding that it's going to be kind of hard to glue it down. And so I decided to hook them together, sort of, with a little space in between, and put it on vellum and then fussy cut it out of the vellum. And so that was kind of how I solved that problem. And I really like how that turned out. It also kind of softens the background behind it so they stand out a little bit more too, which I like. So I made 3. I was kind of thinking rule of 3 here, rule of like that kind of whole idea of making a triangle to help your eyes go across the page. So I was kind of thinking of that when I made 3 of these and cut out 3 of the other kind of rainbows. Sorry, my allergies have been just craziness. Okay, so I'm going to put those across the page, and I'm pretty much done. Okay, so here's the problem. I glued a bunch of stuff down, thinking I was taking video, and I wasn't. So I'm just going to tell you, I added a little tangled thread up at the top and at the bottom, like I always do, and a little behind the photo. The other thing that I did is I added a few, you probably saw this, there's LA Studio tags that are cut apart. You can kind of see them in the upper right there. I added those, one below the page, or at the bottom of the page, and then one at the top of the page. And I did that just to add a little something, and stuck with the colors that it was closest to. And then, yeah, and I'm almost done here. I need to do my title. Make sure everything's kind of straight here. And I decided, I was going to use these. These are simple stories. I have them in every color, but they just were a little off-white, and there's so much white on this page that I wanted real white thicker. So I found these in my stash, and I got to tell you, I don't really know. I mean, I've had them for a long time, so I don't really know what they are. So I just put Joy as my title because that's kind of what she looks like here, is that she's just so happy. And then I'm going to take a couple of my spray inks, and I'm going to add a little bit of red up in the top, and then a little bit of that kind of aqua green sort of in the bottom. And oh, I did punch, I have a paper punch that I just leave out on my desk that is a butterfly, because I put butterflies in all of my layouts that have my daughter in them. And so I went ahead and just punched a couple of butterflies out to add those to the page. I can't remember if I did just those two that are at the bottom or if there's one at the top too. I think there is. And I just kind of stuck with that same color, put color on tone sort of thing. And then I add the date. Oh, yep, there's a butterfly right there. I add the date and I call it done. So I didn't add any journaling to this one, which is kind of not my norm. Usually, oh, I did add another little one of those there. That's orange. I forgot about that. Yeah, so I didn't add any journaling, but I felt like it kind of spoke for itself, just saying Joy and showing her jumping in front of the house and all of that. So, or in front of the beginning of what do I want to say? We're looking across the street. She's in front of our house, and there's this big open field across the street from there. Oh yeah, I forgot that I had picked out this yellow like a long time ago that I was going to put there, and then I forgot to glue it down. So I was able to pull it up. Nothing was wet yet. Everything was still wet enough that I was able to pull it up and just glue it down. If I had it to do over again, I probably would have the yellow and the orange not line up so much. but anyway, I like the way this turned out. This was a fun one to make, and it came together really quickly. A lot of times when you're doing those scrap lifts, it's so much easier to just kind of go, oh, I just want to do this. There was another butterfly there that I missed. So yeah, I did a lot more butterflies than I thought. So anyway, thanks a lot for checking it out, and I will see you in my next video.